Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Class, I want you to welcome a guest professor who is from the motherland, who is my sister from the motherland, South Africa. That is awesome. I want you to welcome to the class, guest professor Landie Stevens. Say what's up to the class, Landie.
What's up, everybody?
It's funny that before we started recording, I was thinking like, wow, the best intro I could give is my sister from the motherland.
Sister from another mother.
Yeah, from the motherland.
Yeah.
Oh, Landie, I'm so glad you came onto the show. I've read your bio. I kind of followed you and some of the things that you've done. And when you accepted the request to come onto the School of Hard Knocks and the Genesis Project podcast, I was elated. I was overly excited that my wife couldn't get me to calm down.
I'm so excited.
Yes, I am. So, for those who don't know you, I want to give you a brief moment for you to kind of just talk about yourself and everything like that. So, give us a quick bio, and then we go ahead and jump in from there. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Bernard. I'm really excited to be here too. And yes, I am from South Africa. Just to give you a bit of background, I'm just an ordinary human being. I'm just an ordinary person that's lived life, and I'm hoping to be able to share parts of that life with different people. I started off life climbing the proverbial totem pole of business, wanting to become the CEO and the MD, and had a rude awakening about 10 years ago to say that I need to actually move into business on my own. Very scary thought. Started off from scratch and reinvented my life. And yeah, my passion is to empower others so that they can empower and equip other people. So it's about transference of skills from one person to another. And that is my passion. So it's about taking a journey with somebody wherever they are in their life and coaching them or training them or giving them the skills in order to step into what they were created to do. And I believe that I have the gifting to do that, is to walk a journey with people in whatever platform suits them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, because I before I hit the record button, we talked about the Genesis moment. For those who are new to the School of Hard Knocks, the Genesis moment is actually just being at the fork of the road, is seeing both paths, is seeing life beyond those paths, and not saying that it's a bad choice on the right, good choice on the left, or vice versa. Both of them could be great paths, but it's just like, man, which one do I choose? And that your life could be better from no matter what step you take. And for instance, a Genesis moment was for me to start this podcast, for me to start the School of Hard Knocks. Another Genesis moment is me getting married, So with that being said, I want you to give us a Genesis moment that you are willing to share.
Which one to choose? I have had many. I think a very big Genesis moment for me, I think I'll take it from present. we're all living through a very big pandemic right now, where the whole world has gone into a shutdown. We're having to re-engineer and reinvent ourselves, not only as human beings, but as businesses.
Right.
We're hearing every day about businesses shutting down, and the negativity from a social media perspective, from news, is hitting us from all ends. And it's about my genesis moment, probably in the last 2 to 3 months, has been to refocus my mind on being positive and to filter things so that I can remain positive. As a business owner, you have that worry of, is my business going to survive this? Am I going to be able to carry on after this? And the genesis moment for me is, we need to reinvent, and we need to be constantly moving. The minute we stand still is when we begin to perish. So for me, it's been a moving predominantly from a face-to-face perspective, meeting my clients face-to-face, to meeting them online, and to re-engineer who I am and to evolve into something that the world can receive right now. And with my passion being people and having connection with people and to teach what I have to teach, I'm having to move, and I'm having to change inherently where my strengths were, which is being in person with somebody, to actually having a connection with somebody on a screen. So a genesis moment for me right now is to say, Landie, you know what? That is not going to work anymore. And to release that and to step into the here and now and to hold on to something in the future. So something that I can say now is, what are you holding on to that was in the past that you need to let go in order to have an open hand so that you can receive something that is new? And I'm finding more and more when I'm speaking to clients and to people and to friends and to family, is they're having a difficulty with letting go. It's a very difficult process. And I think the older you are, the more difficult it is to let go, because we become comfortable. We become comfortable with the norms. And I think there's a huge shaking going on right now, and there's a massive reset happening right now, where we're having to refocus and to reinvent and to regroup and to basically say, okay, where am I? What do I have in my hands? And how can I be of value to those around me, and to step into the new and let go of what was?
Wow. I think, when you said the word reinventing yourself, I picture myself forcing myself to reinvent myself. In the example I always use is Puff Daddy, right? I highly respect that man's hustle and everything that he contributed to, not only to the music world, but just him personally being open to the world. And we when I first learned of him, he was Puff Daddy, and then he reinvented himself and changed his name to Puffy, and then he changed his name again to Diddy. And I think a lot of people may have looked at that as, what's this guy doing? But as soon as he started doing that, I started recognizing what it is he's doing. He's different from when he went from Puff Daddy to Puffy. He changed himself completely. Like, some of his actions, some of the words that he may have used was not the same. And I was able to be sensitive enough to pick that up. So, class, make sure you know that you have to be easy, or rather sensitive enough, and know when to reinvent yourself, and I won't get on me. We'll just move on. But I will say that, just having people, whether you're able to touch them in the physical or just in a digital sense nowadays, to touch them and learn from them, either from a distance or right underneath them, has helped me to reinvent myself in ways that I probably would have never imagined.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think the key there is mindset, Bernard. It's it's incredible to see when you shift your mindset from focusing on the negative to start looking at the positive, because if you're stuck in the negative, you cannot move.
Totally.
The negative holds you captive.
Yeah.
So the minute you release the negative and you step into the positive, that is when you can step into reinventing yourself. And it's more of an unlocking of who you are, because we all have identities. We're all unique.
Yeah.
And we all have giftings.
Yeah.
And it's when we're moving from one place to the next, I think we're getting new skills and we're getting new giftings.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you're changing your identity, because Bernard will be Bernard and Landie will be Landie. But it's unlocking new things within you that you can step into almost,
Yeah.
which is very exciting.
I think that's wonderfully put. I think you put that very, very well. So what are the reasons why I was excited to bring you on? Is because of a new format that I am introducing into the School of Hard Knocks is subjects. And one of the subjects that, or from looking at your bio and everything that you have done, one of the things that really jumped out at me was management, business management, and dealing with systems and things of that nature. So I was excited. Well, that was probably the second or third reason why I was excited, was because I could have somebody with your knowledge and with your knowledge to explain business management and things of that nature. So with that being said, I want you to first tell me, what is your definition of leadership?
That's a big one, because I think leadership and management is a title that has been thrown around, and it has been evolving, and it's almost got a negative connotation to it, because the minute you say manager, you think of somebody sitting on your head. When you say leader, it's starting to get that same connotation to it, because it becomes a buzzword. So when I talk about leadership, I talk about a servant heart. It's about being somebody that serves others. It's somebody that is there to mentor. It's somebody that's there to stand with you and to coach you and to be the buffer, but also somebody that can correct you with knowledge and wisdom.
Right.
So when it was a very big lesson that I learned early on in my life. I actually stepped into my first management or leadership role at the age of about 19, 20, where I was running a team of 4 people. And I can tell you now, as a manager, in the first year, I was horrible. I was not good. It was that proverbial big head syndrome where I know everything, and you try to almost create little mini me's, because I know what I'm doing, and you need to do what I'm telling you to do. And I got the realization that that isn't what a leader is. That isn't what a manager is. What a leader is somebody that has the ability to see potential in somebody, and has the ability then to unlock it in them and help them to walk that journey of uncovering who they are, and then to step into their own leadership role instead of stepping into yours. And a leader is not somebody that sits on a throne and dictates. It's somebody that gets into the trenches and gives the push when they need it, and gives the pull when they need that. So it's understanding what those that are following you or reporting into you actually need at any given time. It's not about barking orders, because you don't create followers by that. You create people that are fearful of you, and they won't necessarily follow you into a war. If you look at the big greats, in history, you look at Roosevelt from your side, you look at the Kennedys, you look at war heroes. When you start to begin to unpack those people, and you look at their personalities, and you look at how they lead, they didn't lead by fear. They led by inspiration, and they led by doing things first. And because somebody has done it first, you almost become a pioneer, and you almost open the road for those that come after you. And that is key when you talk about a leader. You need to have the wisdom, you need to have the courage, and you need to have the boldness to walk out first, and not send those that are reporting to you out first to take the fire. They need to follow you in your footsteps, so that they can unlock who they are in your protection, in your shadow.
You know, what are the things that popped out in my mind when you mentioned that, well, first of all, I think we all know somebody who believes that they know everything and just kind of bark orders at you, expect you to follow
Yeah.
them because they
Yeah.
want you to believe that they know everything. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that really jumped out in my mind was Henry Ford, and a lot of
Mm.
people will love him, and then there's
Yeah.
people who hated him. But the one
Yeah.
thing that you have to respect is that he did things in such a manner that was very, very inspirational. You know, he gave his workers the opportunity to buy the cars that they was making. He set up a community for them to be able to stay and live in
Mm.
and everything like that. And I don't think a lot of people give him credit enough
Yeah.
for those humanitarian things that he's done, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And yeah, that was one of the things that really jumped out at me
Mm.
about what you said.
I teach a lot on lead, and one big statement that I give, that I get a lot of pennies dropping in the room when I say it, and I say that you are a reflection of your team.
Yeah, yeah,
And what that means is, and it's quite funny, when I initially start to talk to people and they start moaning about their staff and they tell me that their staff are idiots and they don't know what to do and they don't listen or whatever. And when I say that word, you are a reflection of your team, I make that
yeah,
statement.
yeah,
All of a sudden, they can't look me in the eye anymore, because if you're constantly telling somebody that they are incompetent or they are an idiot, those are inherently things within yourself that you are putting onto other people. But
right,
if you're building people up and you're calling out the positive and the gold in people, that is what they will become.
right,
That is how you create a good employee. It's
yeah,
not by the negativity, it's by calling out the positivity. How
right,
often have you heard when you say to a child, you're stupid, eventually they will act stupid?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
the same with staff. It's
yeah,
exactly the same. If you're constantly calling out the negative, that is what they're going to become, is the negative. But if you're constantly calling out the positive and you're giving direction and you're coaching and you're coming alongside them and showing them what is good and showing them what is wrong, eventually they will fall into that lane.
mm-hmm,
But I find it so often when I walk into organizations, you have one of two camps. It's very seldom that you have the middle camp. You will have the camp where they have complete freedom, where the staff are able to do whatever they want,
mm-hmm,
because management is very fearful of being your dictator type personality.
mm-hmm,
And what you have in that camp is a bunch of entitled people, and you have the tail wagging the dog, in
mm-hmm,
essence.
mm-hmm,
And then you don't have any leadership, because what you have is the staff managing the management, and you don't have any direction, you don't have any vision, you don't have any values, and the organization eventually is in a turmoil.
right,
And what you're breeding there is entitlement. So I will walk into organization and I will either look for that. The other camp that you have is you have a dictatorship style management, where they manage from a place of fear. So what you have there is you have staff that don't speak, they don't give opinion, and they just toe the line.
mm-hmm,
And that too is very, very bad. What you need is balance. You need
mm-hmm,
to have a bit of both. And it takes a really strong leader to have both.
mm-hmm,
And what you find is when you have a dictatorship style manager in place, is the core emotion that is there is fear.
mm-hmm,
Because they're fearful that those that are reporting into them are going to be better than them. Or they have a fear that the person that's reporting into them is wanting to steal something from them, almost their title, their authority. So what they do is they bark down fear so that you have a
mm,
submissive team, and that don't work.
right,
When you have somebody that is that free for all and that entitlement, what you have there is a fear of authority.
mm-hmm,
And they're wanting people to like them as opposed to follow them. Because if somebody likes you, they don't necessarily trust you, and they won't necessarily follow you. But if you've got a good balance and you have got confidence, You don't necessarily need to know all the answers,
Right.
but you need to have that confidence in yourself to say, you know what, you're right, and you know what, we're going to go your way. Or you know what, I disagree with you, but we're going to go this way. It's that confidence to be able to be that pioneer, have that pioneering spirit, and have people follow you because they know that you're going to be loyal and you've got their backs.
Right.
And that's what makes a good leader.
You know, I think that and again, a couple of things come to mind when you mentioned that. One, I tend to respect a manager more if they are willing to get into the trenches with me. If you're sitting on high just barking out orders, then I'm one of those people who might just try to stage a coup, right? But if you get into the trenches and fight with me and actually lead, not necessarily from the front, it could be from the side or from behind, at least I know you in the fight with me, right?
Correct.
And I the second thing I wanted to bring up is the idea of, because I have because I come from the tech world, everybody likes to believe that I know the answers to every tech problem. And oftentimes I will be completely honest. I don't know.
I don't know.
Technology is changing so rapidly now. I can't really keep up. I have the foundation and the basis of why an issue may happen, but that could be completely wrong too, right? The same issue that's plaguing same technical issue that's plaguing you could be showing symptoms on another component, but I can't use the same troubleshooting steps to try to remedy it, right? So that was the second thing that came to mind. And I love the fact that you even brought up the idea or the psychology of how there's two types of leadership or management styles. So with that being said, I want you to tell me, what does good leadership look like?
Good leadership looks like somebody that can walk the walk and talk the talk, but at the same time identify skills and inherit opportunities within people and then unlock them. It's being able to identify what are the strengths in people. I often talk about a SWOT. I don't know if you know what a SWOT is. I say that is the start of creating a good strategy, is to begin with a SWOT. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses. I don't like the word weakness. I call it growth opportunities.
Love it.
Opportunities, and then obviously threats.
Right.
When you start to unpack something with somebody, you begin to understand where their strengths and their weaknesses are. And the weaknesses aren't generally a bad thing. What that does is to be able to identify your team and put your team in where their strengths are. And then to work on growing those weaknesses, or growth opportunities as I call them, and then to be able to uncover where the opportunities are in the person and where the threats are. What I find is a lot of people expect people to be jacks of all trades. You need to be able to do everything. And if you're not doing everything at 100% capacity, then you're actually not good enough. And that is a wrong leadership style to have. You need to be able to look at your team, and I often give the analogy because I do a lot of work within a sales team. You get a hunter and you get a farmer type person. Hunter generally looks for new business, whereas a farmer generally farms the existing business. If you have got it wrong and you're putting a hunter in a farming role, you're not going to get the best out of that person.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, and no matter how much you scream and shout, or you train them, or you give them skills, or whatever the case may be, if they're inherently a hunter, they're not going to farm, and vice versa. So a good leader has the ability to identify who the person is, and to be able to unlock and bring to the front who they are, and then put them into a role that suits who they are. And when you're looking at your team, you've got a variety of different people, and they're all unique. Every single person is unique. And what I find with a lot of managers is they paint everybody with the same brush. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot do that. Each person is unique. Yes, you have your vision and you have your strategy, but it's about a chessboard and moving your team members into different areas on the chessboard.
Mm-hmm.
And you put different people in different places at different times. That is a good manager. It's somebody with vision, but at the same time being able to create a strategy and then execute that strategy with their team.
Right.
Another area that I want to raise here is a true leader gets buy-in from their team. They don't strategize and do things on their own. They
Right.
use their team strategically in order to create the strategy with them.
Right.
And I'm not saying the entire strategy, they will have an end often in mind, but they will bring in their team in order to work with a strategy with them. And the final decision then lies with you as the leader, but your team gets buy-in by being a part of the process.
Right.
A lot of managers today, I find, and predominantly in sales or senior CEO, MD positions, is they create a strategy and then they bark it down through the ranks. And then they expect people to follow. And then they expect people to have the outcomes that you had in mind. But that doesn't always happen because there is no buy-in that has happened. So a good leader gets buy-in. They read their people. They are able to visualize and see opportunities within people, but then they are able to unlock that in them because most people don't know what they carry.
Right.
They don't know what their strengths are.
Right.
Simon Sinek talks about uncovering the why. Huge revelation for me. I teach it quite often. Is I speak to people and they're going through the mundane job. I go to work and I work from 8 till 5 or 9 till 5 and then I go home.
Right.
But why are you doing what you're doing? When you begin to uncover that why and you begin to understand why you do things, it unlocks an entire you. And as a manager, it's your duty to sit with your staff and begin to unlock that why within.
Right. Man, that's awesome you brought up Simon because I've seen what was it? I forget if it was a 99U video he did or it might have been a TED Talk.
Yeah.
But the one everybody knows is TED Talk. But the start with your why, that was so, for me, it was revolutionary in the way that he explained that, the way that just the psychology of it all, and of course, coming from a sports background, I often, a lot of things that you said kind of related to me in the sense of a football coach or just a coach in general, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. The coach will have the plan. The coach will study the opposing team, will have a plan for us to either win or at least make it a great game, right? But of course, the whole idea is to win, right?
Correct.
And by putting the best players in the best position possible,
correct,
to make it happen, and trusting us to do what we're supposed to do and doing our job to make this thing happen and really go out and get this win. So with that being said, and first of all, let me just say, you are just nailing everything on the head.
Yay!
A lot of things I've thought in my head, and I hope to God that I've been actually utilizing it. But you never know, But with that being said, for some of us who employs more than just ourselves, who manage teams, how do you go from being the dictatorship leader or the fear or using fear as a leader to being just how should I say it? I know you kind of touched on this before, but I want you to explain just how you could effectively manage teams.
In my e-course, I actually take you through these 3 personality types, and I clone it multiple personality order, not disorder, order. So in order to be an effective manager, you need to understand that you need to put on different hats. So I'm going to take you through the 3 now. You've got your boss type personality, which I'm sure if I say boss, the picture that you would get is a dictator and the person that barks orders and is very disciplinarian. The second personality is your manager type. And your manager type personality would be the person that is very focused on the admin side of things. So the strategy, the reports, understanding ratios, understanding the vision, the mission, all the admin side, the processes, the strategies. And then you get your personality, which is your coach. And I'm so glad you mentioned the sports arena, because it's exactly that. And when you look at those three types of personalities, you need to be able to switch between those three types of roles at any given time with different people. So if we look at the boss type mentality, your boss type mentality would actually come into play only about 5% of your time, and hopefully not even 5%, because the boss type personality you would bring out when you are disciplining people. When they've stepped out of line and you need to performance manage, or you need to fire somebody. That is when that person comes into play, because you need to be that personality in order to do that.
Right.
Where you need to be sitting with is the balance of the time needs to be between your manager and your coach. So you need to be jumping between knowing the numbers, but then also being there for your people. So yes, the coach from Sports Pacific knows the strategy, and they understand that games are won in the locker room and not on the field. Right. It starts in the locker room, because the strategy gets discussed and it gets planned out there, and the players get put in. And even at halftime, when you're going back into the locker, you're having that discussion, the coach is moving people around. But when you look at the manager, he does the admin. So you need to understand from a reporting perspective, what is the history? Where's your company at? Who are your clients? Where's your target market? What is your sales ratios? It's all those sales is a numbers game, business is a numbers game, and that's where your manager personality comes in. So you need to almost have a web of all three personalities that are working congruently at any given time. So when you have a team of people and you've got an underperformer that you've been coaching and you've been managing, and they're just kicking against it, your boss personality will rise up, and then you use what the manager and the coach has done to back you up there. If you've got somebody that's brand new in your team, they obviously need to know the history. Right. They need to know who the company is. They need to know who the target market is. They need to know processes. They need to know how the company operates, its computer systems, and it's all kinds of things within the organization. That's where the manager comes into play. But then you have the coach that walks alongside the person and that coaches them, that walks the journey with them. But you're going to be jumping between the coach and the manager on a regular basis, because sometimes people need the admin. Sometimes people need a pat on the back. Sometimes people need the strategy. So it's being able to understand and being able to navigate between the three personalities at any given time.
You know, I'm and again, let me just say that you are just nailing it on the head. You know, when you brought that up, it made me think about just the psychology of it all, right? Now, I know I've mentioned that before, and I really want to drive home the fact that psychology has a lot to do with this, and business is not for the faint at heart. No. You know, you can't be lazy and just say, oh, well, they'll figure it out. I mean, they will, but then again, by the time they will figure it out, it might be the end of your business, right?
Correct.
Even with that, I would like to ask you, is company values, do company values play in that too? Making sure that you instill your company values into your employees and hope that we are aligned to this one goal.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes.
Because when we look at recruitment, I'm often brought into organizations to help them with their recruitment strategy. And immediately when people recruit, they look at the CV, they look at the person's experience and their skills and all the rest. And the one thing that they forget to look at is culture and values.
Yeah.
Now, culture and values, you cannot change inherently in a person. It's part of their DNA, because you get that from their upbringing.
Right, right.
And you get that from their lifestyle. You cannot change somebody's values. So when you're recruiting, you need to be looking for somebody that aligns to your culture and your values, because it's something that you cannot change.
Now, so, speaking for somebody who let's just say somebody who never started a business before
Mm-hmm.
is opening up a business,
Mm-hmm.
what is some of the things that they could do to actually find that perfect employee, I guess you could say? What's some of the ways you can find those values in an interview?
Okay. Just to put it out there, there is no perfect employee because nobody's perfect.
Right, right.
So when you're recruiting, I think you need to know yourself first. Who are you as a person, as a manager? So if it's your business, who are you? What is the culture and what is the value of your business?
Right, right.
That is first and foremost, is understand thyself. I talk a lot about introspection. Before you can change somebody else, you need to do the introspection yourself first. You need to understand who you are and what is your identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because your identity is going to permeate throughout your department or your organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to become your standard. First, understand that, because you cannot recruit anybody unless you understand who you are and what your company stands for or your
Mm-hmm.
department stands for. Secondly, is when you are recruiting for somebody, is understand what they will be doing. So have that job description.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that willy-nilly job description of they need to do this on a daily basis. What is the outcome that you're wanting from this employee? Because remember, skills can be taught. A mindset cannot be changed. It can only be influenced.
Right.
So you can teach the skills. And this is where we get back to unlocking potential in people. I often employ people that are very new. So very new in the industry. And I love bringing on a new set of skills, or I bring on a baby in the field, because
Mm-hmm.
then I have the opportunity to mold somebody and give them an opportunity to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
When you're employing somebody that comes from another organization, or they've got a lot of history behind them, they've got a lot of bad habits,
Right.
which you can change. You can change, but it takes a lot of work. So if you're brand new in the business, I would almost start with somebody that doesn't have a lot of bad habits. If you've been managing people for quite some time, it's a different kettle of fish. Then you can walk down that road. But understand yourself, understand what this employee is needing to do. What is this role? What is the outcome that you're wanting this role to perform? And what is the end result?
Mm.
When you have that, and you're sitting talking to a person, yes, a CV is very important, but we all know that people blow CVs out of proportion, and there's a lot of stuff on a CV that isn't necessarily true.
Right.
So when I do an interview, the very first interview that I do with people is I don't even have a CV in front of me.
Mm.
I will have a discussion with them. I will find out who the person is, what makes them tick. And once they get talking, I chuck in questions like, what is the last book you read?
Right.
And you see people almost take a step back, because this is not a normal interview question. I haven't prepared for this.
Yeah.
Or what was the last podcast you listened to?
Right.
Because then you begin to understand what interests this person. And you begin to uncover if they can deal with stress.
Mm-hmm.
Can they think quickly on their feet? Are they a smooth talker? And then you tie it back to the CV. So then the second interview, because now they think, oh, it's going to be a lovely interview because I'm just talking.
Mm-hmm.
The second interview then you talk facts, because now they haven't prepared for that. And then you can uncover the real behind the CV, and you uncover the real person, because now you tie the personal life up with the CV life. And
Right.
then you uncover what is real and what isn't.
Right.
But at the same time, you uncover inherently what is this person's values, what is their culture, what are their interests, what are their aspirations. And you begin to uncover and unpick what is the gold inside of them. And then you begin to understand, can I unlock that with them?
Mm-hmm.
Are they somebody that is going to follow, or are they going to be a leader? Are they going to be somebody that is going to be willing to go the extra mile, or they're going to be the person that expects everybody else to carry the weight? You begin to uncover all these things by how you conduct the interview initially.
That is amazing. That's it made me think about the Google interviews and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And for I worked at a company where there was a lot of engineers, and
Yeah.
and because me being me, I'm personable with everybody. You know, I'm personable to the point where, you know, I may have a desk in every department. You know,
Yeah.
and I happened to get into a conversation with one of the engineers, one of the manager of the engineering department, and because I had to set up their computers for the new person or potential new person, what have you. And he told me some of the interviewing questions uh, that he asked them. And like one of the questions was, how many basketballs would it take to fill this room? And I'm just looking at him like, why? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a lot of math. I'm not really in the mood to do a lot of math at the moment. So what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of you asking that question? And he told me there wasn't really a wrong answer. It was just a way for me to gauge how they think. You know,
Yeah.
and I understand that because as an engineer, you have to oftentimes think outside the box.
Correct.
Think outside the box, but inside the box as well, right? And the question about the basketballs, how many basketballs is it going to take to fill a room? I guess you could take the dimensions of the room and take the size, take the dimension of a basketball, and then figure it out that way, or just whatever, right? And that was like, wow, okay, that was an eye opener for me. That opened up some doors for me to realize that some of these interviewing questions, while they're good, they may be outdated, right? And the way that you talked about having just a regular conversation, not having the resume in front of you, just having a conversation and everything like that, that's, again, another eye opener for me. My youngest daughter is 20, and I've been preaching to her to be careful about what you put on social media, the things
Yeah.
that you do on social media, because again, coming from the tech world, I know that there are companies who will go and look at your social media pages, whether you make it private or not. They're still able to kind of finagle their way in there to see all of that stuff. And if you present yourself in a way that the company would not deem pleasing, where at least if let's just say if you take a drunk picture and you might be doing some things that you probably shouldn't be doing, they don't want that type of person representing their company, because now you're putting their company at risk for a number of things, right? And I'm not sure if it's actually getting through. I pray to God that it is, but who knows? And I hope she don't fall victim to a situation where that may come to play.
Agreed.
And the main thing I was trying to get her to understand is, it's about character. You have to express your character through social media. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go party. Yeah, you can go party, but you don't want to take, just all drunk pictures and all that type of stuff. But I don't want her partying at all. But that's just the father of me.
That's just the father in you.
That's
Yeah.
just the father of me.
I hear you. I hear you.
So let me ask you this: what is the one thing you wish you knew before you started your business?
That I don't have all the answers, and it's okay.
Mm,
And life is a journey. It's not a destination.
Enjoy the journey. That is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you miss so much when you're aiming for the next best thing.
Right.
You forget to enjoy where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you run a business and still find balance with your home life?
Sure. That's a place that I can talk a lot on. Being in sure. In 2010, I actually reached burnout. I actually burnt out because I was working 16, 17 hours a day. And it was a job that I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved it. I had deadlines on a weekly basis. I actually had 4 or 5 deadlines on a weekly basis. And I wasn't really good from a home perspective because I was climbing that ladder.
Right.
And I got to the realization where the doctor actually said to me, Landie, if you don't slow down, you are going to have a heart attack. And we're talking 2010. I'm 44 now, so that's what, 10 years ago. Yeah, so I was 34. I got to the realization that I am in control of my life and I have just let it get out of control. So that is where balance came in. And it was actually from 2012 that balance came in from a big way, because it was when I made the move to actually move completely out of corporate and to move locations. And that's when I started my own business. Now, when you're running your own business, it's actually even more difficult because you're chasing the proverbial bottom line, not only for the company, but you're chasing it to put food on the table for yourself. And what I've learned over the last 8 years running my own business is there's a cutoff time. There's times that you need to really put in the long hours, but I have Fridays at 3 o'clock, I shut down and I start the weekend. And I don't look at emails, I don't look at business until Monday morning. So that is my one cutoff time. The next one is when I want to take a day off, when I'm tired and my heart is not in something, then I take the day off. Because I know tomorrow when I'm actually stepping in to do something, I'm going to be more committed, I'm going to be rested, and I'm going to be focused. And my family comes first. So if they need me, work comes second. It is something that I really got embedded in me in 2012, is that family comes first. My clients are not going to be there for me, but my family will. So it's a very difficult thing to say that my clients come second. Right. But I know that the clients that work with me, it's a value that I instill in them. Right. So if they want to meet with me after hours, I'm open to it, but I will always talk to you, have family that you need to tend to first. Right. And have you tended to them? Because if you haven't tended to them, then I'm not meeting with you. Right. So there's boundaries, and I live what I teach. Whatever I've spoken about today is something that I physically have lived or am living or am teaching. So where I talk from is it's from who I am. It's not stuff that I've read in a book. Which is why my e-course is so different. I actually had, over the last year and a half, I've actually had universities and colleges actually approach me to put together a sales management course. And the first people that I spoke to, they were going to pay me a pittance for it. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this. Because what I think you are needing is an academic, and that is not what I am. Yes, I've gone and I've studied and all the rest, and I'm continuously studying. But what you're needing is an academic, and that is not what I am. When I do my courses, I speak from and when I train and when I coach, I speak from a personal perspective. So I will tell you where I failed, and I will unpack it for you, because that is how you're going to learn. Right. So everything for me is from a personal perspective. Right. I will take you down a journey of successes and complete failures in the hope that you will learn from me. So everything that I am, I lay out for people, because I believe that my life, both the good, the bad, and the ugly, will enrich somebody else's.
Right. And, that is the definition of the School of Hard Knocks. Learning from your mistakes, not being afraid to fail, and being willing to give out your lessons from those moments where you have been, or being vulnerable enough to give people those lessons that you learned from those times that you failed. So what is the biggest mistake that you made as an entrepreneur?
Sure, there's been many. Let me isolate them. Let me tell you about this one. I was actually approached early on in my business by a gentleman that wanted to partner with me. And I didn't do my due diligence, and I didn't follow my gut that he was actually the wrong person. And I thought it would be a symbiotic relationship here. And what ended up happening is he took all my skills, and we won quite a big business deal. And because everything was from his perspective, his name, he actually kicked me out halfway through and took the entire project for himself. So I could have fought it, but I made the choice to let it go because he needs to live with himself. But what that has taught me is do the due diligence and follow your gut, because your gut is often right. When you get that niggly feeling of something isn't good, is investigate more, and don't just take people at face value. Really investigate, especially when it comes to business, and especially when it comes to partnerships, is do that due diligence.
That is a great tip. That is, so I think we got time for me to tell this quick story. So I told you that I was a ex-pro ball player. Played in a CFL for maybe a year or two. 4 years removed from high school. Never played college football at all, which is a very unusual feat. When I decided to go try out for the CFL, I had to leave Detroit to go to Texas to try out. And 3 weeks before going to tryouts, I was robbed at work.
Oh my word.
So serious. I was taking out the trash, and a couple of guys came and kind of showed their guns and, walked me into my job, and they tried to rob us. Didn't necessarily do it, but some other things happened. I won't really get into that. And mind you, that was 3 weeks before I left to go to tryouts.
Wow.
The next week, my cousin died. My cousin passed away, and of course, after I got robbed the first time, my family's like, "Oh no, you shouldn't go. You shouldn't go." My cousin died. Now my family's really telling me, "No, you shouldn't go. You shouldn't go." My mindset was, I don't know. Maybe I won't go. And then when my cousin died, I'm starting to lean more towards, maybe I should go, right? The week leading up to tryouts, I got robbed again.
My word.
So, like, by now, it's like, you know what? My gut was telling me, you might as well just go. What's the worst that can happen? You hate your job anyway. They're paying you peanuts. If you stay here, who knows what would happen? God forbid, I might just get hurt, or something bad might just happen. If I just go, something good may happen. What's the worst that could happen, right? And the day that I was supposed to leave to go to the airport to go to Texas was the viewing of my cousin's body. And I remember walking in there with my luggage in the car, or my luggage in hand, because my older brother was coming with me because he knew Texas, or he knew the area more than I did. And just going into viewing the body with my luggage, my family just took a stand. No, you are not going, and just this, and that, third, just all types of stuff. And I said, all right, that's fine. So I viewed the body, and while everybody was, crying and, feeling sorry and all that type of stuff, I snuck out with my luggage and I hopped on the plane and I left. My family, of course, they was upset about that, but it was a gut feeling that I needed to go. That, again, for me, that was a Genesis moment, because that at that point, that is what literally changed my life around. I realized that I don't need nobody's validation for the life that I'm living. And whether I make the team or not, that step right there gave me enough confidence to say, you know what, screw everybody, screw what you thinking. I'm going to do this because this is what's best for me. So with that said, the last question I want to ask you is, what is something personal about you that you want the class to know that cannot be found on Wikipedia or Google?
There's not much, eh? I've got 4 kids. They're all 2 years apart. And I've got 2 grandkids. It's my second marriage, but I'm sure a lot of people know. I'm also a marriage counselor.
What?
And I do a lot of marriage workshops, but that's also it's on YouTube. A lot of my stuff's on YouTube there, so that is there. I'm just going through the list. There's quite a bit. You know what? I'm quite an open book. So if you can't find it online and you ask me, I will give you what I have. So it's very difficult for me to say that I don't. If somebody doesn't know about it, if it's not online or somewhere, because from a personal perspective, because I do a lot of marriage workshops and a lot of marriage counseling, all of that side is also online. So from a business perspective, it's here and online, and my personal life from a marriage perspective is also online there. So you know what? I'm an open book. I'm really an open book.
Okay. That's good to know, class. That's good to know. Know that guest professor Landie Stevens is a open book. Well, with that being said, thank you for coming out to the class, for coming out to the School of Hard Knocks and teaching this class teaching this lesson on business management and the things thereof business management. You've dropped a lot of great things, and man, when I say that you really opened my eyes to let me know that one, either I'm doing the right thing, or two, maybe there's some things that I need to tighten up at. And man, it was just an amazing lesson. The School of Hard Knocks, thank you. I want to give you the opportunity for you to just kind of give out where you can be found at. Please, I want you to shout out your e-course and everything like that, and just where the people can find you.
Well, the first place that they can find me is at landiestevens.com, spelled Landie, Stevens with a V.com. All my e-courses, blogs, what I do, the coaching, all that stuff is on my website. But they're more than welcome to follow me on LinkedIn at Landie Stevens Consulting, or on Facebook at Landie Stevens Consulting. And I've got a new e-course that's being launched as from the 1st of June, which I'm really excited about. It's been in the works for about a year. It's called The Faces of a Sales Manager. It's 9 modules. So it's a 9-week course. And yeah, if you're wanting to get a little bit more of what I've been speaking about, I unpack that and a whole load more in the 9 modules. Yeah, so look me up. And if you're needing any more information, just pop me a mail at emailme@landiestevens.com.
That is awesome. And I'm definitely going to make sure I get the link to your e-course so I could give it out to the School of Hard Knocks.
Awesome.
So, again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. My sister from another mother, from the motherland, from South Africa. So, class, you've heard so many great things. I hope you guys took great notes. I know I have. And like I always say at the end of these things, everything that you do, chase after it with violent action. Class has concluded, and I will see you guys in the next one. About 15 years ago, I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more. Greatness. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people towards that greatness with the guest professor that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.